one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Any additions to the agenda?
Not for me.
Nope. Public comment?
Hi, Gary Vincent, Harpswell. Just my quarterly question on if the board plans to do anything around the planning for the next MOU for the Harpswell Community Broadcast Center and the plans for budgeting that for the town meeting in March.
We haven't got that far yet.
The reason I'm asking is that expires in August of next year. So if we're going to do any planning in terms of what alternatives might be available to the public, I would think we'd want them presented at the town meeting as options rather than in a June vote. So,
There has been conversations.
It's on our calendar.
okay.
What's happened to you? You've lost a lot of weight.
I have.
You okay?
Intentionally.
You meant to
Intentionally,
lose it,
yeah.
right? Okay.
Intentionally.
I didn't recognize you, frankly.
You didn't?
Yeah, good to see you.
Should I be meaner?
Oh, if you'd like.
Thank you.
Yep. Select board announcements.
Sorry,
Oh, sorry.
I was just slow moving.
Sorry, Katie.
Katie Neal, Parks and Rec Director. I apologize. The Lobster Boat Committee sent a memo requesting the fees be waived for this year's lobster boat races, which, as everyone knows, is coming up not this Sunday, but the next Sunday, June 26th, down at Mitchell Field, which we're thrilled about. They do great fundraising efforts for the local nonprofit, and it's a fabulous addition to our community. So I'm just requesting that the Select Board please consider waiving the fees.
I so move.
I so second.
All in favor?
Great. Thank
Yeah,
you, gentlemen.
That was that easy.
Adjourned?
So,
All right. About select board announcements, didn't you have something, Matt?
Yeah, you want to go first, David?
well, I just want to say that this Saturday down in the center, what is it, the 18th, right? Down in the center, big doings for our 250th. They'll have some Revolutionary War reenactors there. They'll have food. They'll have all kinds of things going on. So 11 to 3 on Saturday.
I had a couple. The first one, I'm going to kind of reiterate one of David's points. There's companies coming around asking you to spray pesticides in your yard. I had one come to my house, and they said that they were going to be spraying all natural pesticides. So I hired them, and they came, and I figured out after they came that they sprayed bifin. And bifin is not all natural. It's a terrible, terrible chemical, and I abut a wetland. So I have since severed the contract with the pesticide company, but you should be aware that seems to be the chemical of choice this year to control ticks and stuff like that. So just be cautious. It's extremely harmful to the environment, other marine organisms, and everything like that.
Yeah, this poison kills everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just ticks and mosquitoes.
The older one was, Mariana liked it, neonicotinoids.
Yeah.
We get those out of town.
Yep.
Remember those?
And the second one, I think Debbie might be here to speak about it a little bit, but the reevaluation numbers have come out, and you can go on the town website and look up your new value that will be used this year when we set the mill rate and stuff like that. A lot of values went up, but that doesn't necessarily mean your taxes are going to go up. We're not allowed to collect a surplus or anything like that. Everybody's already voted on the county, the town, and the school budget that we have to allot for. So the mill rate is going to go down, but it's just a matter of by how much. But you can go on the town website and find your new value.
Did you want to talk a little bit about the process, Debbie? Because letters have been mailed to people, but it might take a while for them to get there, so. Thank you.
Evening. Basically, you just did my first line. Is basically I was going to announce that basically the new valuations are on our town website, which is harpswell.maine.gov. We have a link on the home page of our website, and we also have it on the assessors page. On the welcome page of the Visions database that you click on, it will have the 888 phone number, And it will also have a link to set up a scheduling if you wanted to schedule an appointment with them. So when you go online, you bring up your property card. You can search by physical location, your name, map and lot, and review the data. It will have a sketch of your house, all the data of the information of how we're assessing your house. It will have, you have to scroll down quite a bit because it starts out with what your new assessment is, and then on the left-hand side, it has all your data information. On the right-hand side, it has your sketch. And then further down, it will have any extra features that you might have in your home, which are like fireplaces, hearths, anything that would be inside your home. And then further down, it will have your land value and how many acres you have. And then further down after that will be all the outbuildings that you have on your property. And then underneath all that, we'll have your previous assessment. The previous assessment will have an appraisal value is for those, what their value would have been if not in a current use, because underneath it would be the assessed value, which might be lower. If you have open space, tree growth, farmland, that's why we have the appraisal figures and the assessed values. But after reviewing all that, if you want to set up an appointment with Vision, you have two ways. You can call and set up an appointment by having a phone hearing or having an appointment here at the town office. They're going to be setting up a station in this room and in the other meeting room also. If you find something small, like you had assessed a shed that you do not have on your property, you can just call Amelia and I. We'll print up your property card. We'll indicate that you do not have a shed on your card, and we will forward that to Vision. So you don't have to set up an appointment just to say, I don't have a shed. So that will give opportunities for other people to set up an appointment. So if you have any small detailed things, you can give us a jingle, but if you have any questions about land base, buildings assessment, where the sales came from, set up an appointment with them on the phone or here in the office.
I think it's important to note that it's really only a 2-week period
Yeah,
for which people can schedule these appointments and hold these appointments. By the end of the month, it's basically that period of time is over, and the values will be accepted by the town unless there was some correction during that period.
Yep.
So it's a very condensed period, and we
Yep.
really want people to contact Vision if they have any questions or think that some of the information is not accurate.
and if Vision does make any corrections to your properties, they will send you another letter at the end of the month that will match your tax bill of what they found after your discussions and stuff. So, I know that if you have a commercial property, they have a smaller window for that. They're only doing 1 day. We only have about 100 and so commercial properties here. So they have like 1 day on the phone and 2 days here in the office that they have. The 28th is the phone hearings, and on the 30th and the 31st is when they're going to be doing here in the office. But if after all the hearings are done, after we get the information, during that time that we're reviewing and you still have questions or did not look at your property card in time, we'll still be able to hear your information before we commit the taxes. If people are not, that was another thing. If people are not going to be able to make the hearings, make the phone call, the call center will give you an email contact for them to take emails. And they'll know which ones who should be emailing them directly or emailing me directly for based on certain information that they're requesting. So I think that's it. So, good luck, everyone. Yes, the values have gone up.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, but like Matt said, we don't know what the mill rate's going to be. We know it's going to go down, but what it's going to be, we don't know. We know our budget, but we just don't know what our total assessed value is going to be after all the hearings are done, so.
I'll bet it'll be the lowest mill rate in Maine.
Yes,
Yep.
we will be. We already are at 666,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep, it'll be under 5,
It'll be under 5.
be under 5.
And back in 2005, when we did our revow, it was 510.
Was it?
So we're ever going to beat that record.
Oh, God, yeah.
So, thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you, Debbie.
Town administrator's report.
Well, that, I was
Was that it?
I was yielding my time to Debbie because I thought that was the
Oh,
most
okay.
important information
Yeah.
to get
Oh,
out
yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah,
So I yield back to the chair.
Oh, okay.
Jeez, wow.
That's quick.
Yeah, consent agenda.
So I have a question on the consent agenda, which is the authorization to seek Maine municipal's legal advice. Does that include the select board?
It does not.
It should.
The select board, their queries flow through the town staff. So when the board directs the staff to seek a legal opinion, we hear it from you at a public meeting.
I've had an occasion as an individual to ask them about conflicts of interest, which wasn't necessarily something that would go through the, I think the select board ought to have the opportunity to individually.
That's a policy decision for the board to discuss.
I would like to, but we don't need to do that now, but I would like to put that on a future agenda perhaps.
Yeah, I'll say
Yeah,
that.
let me
would-
think about it.
It doesn't sound like a good idea, but
Yeah, I want to think about
Yeah.
it. I'm
Yeah.
fine with what's on there now.
Yeah, think
And
about it.
Margaret.
Yeah, but I will move the consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes, the treasurer's report, authority to seek Maine Municipal Association legal advice for our town planner, and the authorization of the warrants as usual.
I will second it, as usual.
no discussion. All in favor?
I-
Aluminum ramp update. That's exciting.
Those darn ramps.
You can welcome to join if you got more stuff. Darcy Kuchar, Harbor Master. I know at the last meeting, we had gotten some direction to do an RFP, move the ramps, everything else. In doing some more research on that, I figured out that you guys actually did this last September. Put them out to bid. There was they were posted. Paul put out some great pictures. I found the social media posts he did about it, and I checked in with him to find out how that went, and there were 0 bids, no interest whatsoever in them. I definitely agree, like, hey, if we can find someone to take them, that would be awesome. I just don't want to spend town resources to physically move them to a viewing location if it's going to end up like we haul them to the dump after that. So I'd like to propose if we just move forward with trying to generate some individual local interest. I'm happy to escort people to go look at them where they are right now so that we've got some control over access. And then if we have any interest, I'm happy to bring the offers to you guys and you can decide how you'd like to proceed from there. I just didn't want to go too far down the road,
No.
spending money to move them if we may end up having to move them again ourselves.
I'd go along with that, I just was thinking that having them out where people see them, they'll say, oh, those aren't so bad, I guess.
I can
but-
repost the pictures and stuff that Paul had. I can
yeah.
like regenerate what he had posted before. I
Right.
just didn't want to, spend that money if we don't have to.
No, I agree, yeah. You want some sort of motion? I mean,
I feel like you guys had already given me direction to do something specific, so if you want to change that, you should decide amongst yourselves that you're good with what I proposed here.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
fine with.
we'll give you a nod, we're good with that, yeah.
just nodding.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, updated purple flag policy regarding shark sightings.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I was gonna
Thank
say,
you,
why
Fran.
don't you just stay out there?
Katie
For the
Neal.
next one also.
Parks and Rec. This policy that is in front of you is just a reflection of the conversation that we had 2 weeks ago and what we talked about as a group in writing, and we are presenting it for your review and approval, or questions, or feedback.
I think it reflects what we talked about.
Well done.
Yeah.
Also, if you guys are interested, I know there's always opinions about everything. I did post some additional information on the Harpswell Marine Resources and Harbor Management Facebook page, which you should all be following because I put good stuff on there. But for those who do not have social media, that's fine. I respect that too. If you want, I can read what I posted. It's gotten about over 200 positive responses. Only 1 or 2 people are like, that's gonna fail. And it's been shared over 60 times, and it cites some of the science that we had behind it. So if you want to hear it and then it's on the record, I'm happy to just read through it real quick if you'd like.
David and I don't have social media, so.
I
There
don't
you go.
either. None of
don't
us
either.
do.
So this is for you guys then.
So, yeah.
Okay, so this went up about 4 days ago. I said, let's talk about the new shark flag policy. The Select Board recently adopted a new policy for the shark flag use in Harpswell, which essentially simplifies the process to all flags going up around the town at the first sighting anywhere and staying up for the rest of the tourist season. Here is a glimpse into the science behind that decision. In March of 2025, a scientific tagging and telemetry study on the seasonal and spatial distribution of great white sharks along the Maine coastline was published in Frontiers in Marine Science. There are a few key takeaways from the study, including the intensity of great white sharks, meaning number of individuals and repeat appearances in our area, has significantly increased since 2019, and the peak season is late May through early October. Many sharks were documented as traveling over 50 miles along the coast in less than 24 hours and then returning to sites on a regular basis. And sharks are more likely to be present when there is plenty of food. Sharks hunt seals, seals hunt pogies, and Harpswell waters have some of the highest pogie landings in the state of Maine. And if you've been on the water lately, you know that there's pogies in every part of town right now. Waiting for the first reported sighting is an excellent way to start alerting the public that sharks have arrived for the season. Harpswell waters are a documented favorite spot for sharks to hang out, travel through, and return to for the entire summer and into the fall. There's no way we could ever be sure about where every shark might be at all times, but it's scientifically reasonable to assume that they are in our area for many months at a time, coming and going, and the most prudent way to make the public aware of this fact is to keep the flags flying until the end of the season. So we've had pretty good response to that, and I also put a link in my post to the actual scientific paper. It's pretty good. We can put it on the town website if you guys want. It has a lot of information in it.
Great job.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Okay, great.
Did you want to adopt that as your new policy?
I move that we
Yes.
adopt that as our new shark flag policy.
All right, I'll second it.
No discussion, all in favor?
Thank you, ladies, for keeping us on task. The next policy for your review and consideration is the Mitchell Field dinghy rack use policy, which was also discussed at the meeting 2 weeks ago and should reflect our conversation. It is in alignment with how we manage the dinghies at the Pottstown dock. And I believe, helps increase access to the water for residents and non-residents of Harpswell.
I still stick with we should give some sort of priority to the people that have moorings out there, but,
Just so you are aware, we did post the applications for this, and so far we only received one. It was from Matt Newberg, so he will have a spot, and there are still 7 spots open on the dinghy wrap.
okay, well, I'm willing to go along with this, until it gets crowded and the fist fights start and, all of that.
I mean, I honestly look forward to personally folks without moorings in town accessing the dinghy rack to use for canoes or kayaks or whatever flotation device that they so choose, just with the objective of increasing access to the water in our public spaces, but respectfully.
All right, I'll move this Mitchell Field dinghy rack policy, which aligns with Potts Point.
Yes, sir.
Right,
Yep.
yes, yeah.
Well, they gotta keep going.
The only question I have is, there's nothing in here that kind of says anything about liability, or am I missing?
So on the application, which mirrors the Pottstown dock application, when they sign off, they.
Okay, so
they-
that's where that
yep.
part of it's located?
Yep, it's on-
Waiving the, all right,
Like where
then,
they
yeah,
have to
I'll second
physically
it.
read it and sign it. so
Okay,
that they're-
I'll second it then.
Yep.
All in favor?
Thank you.
All right. All right. Water and septic study rollout, including draft survey.
Yes, I'd like to introduce Carol White, and Margaret, were you going to do that? Oh, go ahead, go ahead. You're more intimately involved with the study, so.
I can't wait to get my survey.
Hi, I'm Margaret McIntyre, the town planner. I'm here to introduce Carol White. The town received a grant in 2025 through the Community Resiliency Partnership, which is an office within MOCA, the main Office of Community Affairs. And we got this grant to study wells and septics in town. And we are planning on building on 2 previous studies that were done in 82 and 01, in addition to many other, not surveys, but studies that have been done by other consultants over the years. It was really born out of the conversation about growth that started during the comp plan process. You know, we had to decide when we were doing the comp plan if we're going to have a growth area or not, and where in town could accept more growth or less growth. And it kind of got brought, you know, the limitations on water are always what is going to constrain growth in our town, I think, or one of the big factors. And there's really no way, because we have a fractured bedrock aquifer, there's no way to know the quality, to really understand the quality or quantity of water within the town. So we devised this plan. Mary Ann, the Resiliency Committee, and Carol White came up with this great plan for a septic and drinking water study. And we've spent the spring, once we signed, I think we signed for the grant in June. And then we contracted with Carol, and we have been working on designing this study, which is up for your review tonight. Miriam, one of our Bowdoin Fellows, has been really integral in this process as well. I think she's on the screen if anybody has any questions for her tonight. Any questions for me? Thanks.
I don't think so.
No?
Matt, Dave?
No, I mean, as I said, I can't wait to get my survey. In fact, this has gotten me to get my water tested. I know it's kind of bad, and I have it filtered and everything, but now I'm going to find out exactly what's in it.
Oh.
Carol, would you like to talk a little bit about your background and some of the experience you've had working at other communities and how you helped launch this here in Harpswell?
Yeah, I actually was here in Harpswell in 1982 for one of the original studies with Gerber and Rand. So
No way, you're not that old. Come
I
on.
am. I was just a kid.
There you go.
But anyway, and I lived in Harpswell for a number of years, and I was living here at that time. But anyway, I'm a hydrogeologist. I've worked in Maine for a long time. And I've done a number of these studies. We sort of did a number back in the 80s and early 90s, and we're kind of on round 2 with a number of communities, mostly coastal communities, peninsula communities, islands. I live out on Shebig Island, and I worked with Shebig and Long. And it's really because our groundwater resources are a major constraint, you know, in terms of development. And it's the combination of the groundwater resources and drinking water and septic. So we're not sewered, so we have to really balance the use of our drinking water and the, you know, installation, construction, siting, and management of the wastewater disposal systems. And I think Harpswell, if any community, is pretty well aware of that because you guys have done some work on that already. And so I think this is really an effort to update. We collected data in 1982. There were a couple interim updates to that. The state, in the meantime, had set up a well databases and started collecting data. And then it's actually the septic system permits come into the town, but they also go up to the Department of Human Services. And so what we're doing now is trying to compile a master data set for the town. And because this data is now required to be submitted both for septics and wells, I'm hoping that this will be really the last major effort that a town will have to do, and after that, it will be kept up to date really through the regular channels at the state level. But the data is very useful. It's the most useful data you have on both the, areas where there are water supply issues, areas where there may be water quality issues. And when we worked out here in 82, I mean, even then, there were some areas that had, saltwater intrusion and, some problems. So I think it's important for the community the town to know where your vulnerabilities are. And that's kind of the overall goal here, is to compile enough data. And I kind of, to me, it's sort of like doing blood work and, a health checkup. It's basically, we're trying to update the database to get a current picture of what the conditions are in Harpswell today, and we can use that information to sort of predict how future changes might impact your water use. And we are definitely seeing different precipitation patterns and drought conditions, as you're aware, last summer. So I think things are changing a bit in terms of our water resources.
So the drillers are supposed to report, right? They're supposed to report to the state.
Yep.
Do they always do that, or there's
No.
some? Yeah.
It's gotten much better because the state created an app that they can report on their phone just in the
Okay.
past few years, and that's really helped with compliance. Plus, I think there's been more pressure on the drillers to comply. And septic systems, right now, the state has so the nice thing about the well data is it does go in digitally, so we don't have to type it up afterwards.
Right.
But and it's available online on the Maine Geological Survey site, the well database, and you can download it from there. And we use it a lot for studying groundwater conditions in particularly coastal communities. The septic information, as you know, comes in through the town and comes in paper form typically. The state has a database with PDFs of those paper forms, and we've had some discussions about it would be nice if they created more of a digital format so you guys wouldn't have to do all this compilation. And you're probably aware the town of Brunswick just went through kind of a major effort to get particularly their septic data compiled. And that was in part for, looking at the marine resources and issues with failing septics or poorly functioning septics and the impacts on, water quality in the bay. And so the nice thing about this is it can be used for groundwater drinking water issues, but also for marine-related, concerns.
So there are different kinds of water treatment systems, and the question is, do you have water treatment? And it doesn't, and I suppose people can pencil in what
I think
if they know.
I just did a survey in Georgetown, and we had 10 types of systems, or 8 types of systems listed, and I think we decided just to ask the question about whether or not, I think that was really the committee's recommendation to eliminate the specifics of which type of system. In Harpswell, there's a lot of, iron and manganese treatment, so a lot of water softeners.
Yeah.
What have you found the typical response rate to the surveys in the other communities where you've done this is?
Depends on the size of the community. On the islands, we've had about an 80% response
so really
rate.
good.
In Georgetown, we had about a 60% response rate. Rouseck was 75. It depends a lot on the community.
Those are all still pretty high return
Yeah.
rates for any type of survey.
Yeah, and Harpswell it's a large town, and you may not have the same numbers, but you also have a pretty good database that you're starting with. So we're really trying to supplement what you already have. And it wouldn't surprise you that in 40 years ago, people knew everything about their water supply, and nowadays people really don't even know. I mean, and that's why we're kind of anxious to collect whatever we can, because the knowledge gets lost over time. And as properties change hands and people don't have the familiarity with wells in particular, they don't know much about them. And we're definitely seeing that everywhere up and down the coast.
I've been to places with municipal water supply, and I ask them, where does your water come from? They don't, I don't know, faucet. They have no idea, so.
Yeah. And we did, what triggered some of these was the, what is it, LD 2003, that caused a lot of concern for communities like Harpswell, Shabig, because it's one thing to have sewer and public drinking water, but trying to legislate around the kinds of conditions that, you guys have and my town has, it's very site-specific. And so that was partly what spurred some of the communities to collect the data so they could really demonstrate what the conditions are. So I'm just here if you have any questions about the survey. And the survey, I developed a draft survey, and then the committee and Margaret and Miriam reviewed the survey, made some, edits and some changes. So this is the sort of the draft, but it's,
No, I like it. It's like I said, I can't wait to get mine and fill it out.
Is it
That'd be
all
fun.
electronic, or we plan to have paper copies for people?
I think, what I understood from Miriam is that and Miriam, maybe you want to answer that question.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Miriam. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I am an intern from Bowdoin College. I'm a rising junior. I'm a double major in biology and environmental studies. My understanding about the answer to that question is right now it's going to be rolled out in an online format, but we are also looking into sending it out in a paper format through postcards. But Margaret may be able to answer that further.
I think right now the only thing we've planned is online. We do plan on doing some support for people who are interested in help filling out the survey, and we'll obviously do paper surveys if anybody requests one. It's totally doable. What's really cool about the survey that Carol gave us is you can go in, there's a map, and you can drop the pin of your septic and your well right in the survey, it goes right to GIS, and it's already mapped. So that's the advantage of doing this online survey, but we can definitely do it any way that works for the folks of this town.
We need to be able to push people to the online
Yeah.
somehow.
But if somebody says, hey, I want a paper copy, we'll get it for them.
Yep.
Also, we can go to Lunch with Friends or any other events and help people fill
There you
out
go,
the survey.
promote it, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there's somebody on Zoom that would like to ask some questions.
Oh, yep.
So feel free to unmute yourself and join.
Good evening. My name is Lee McElvain. I'm a professional geologist and have been a
turn him up
long-time
some?
Yeah,
summer,
she is. She's working on it.
long-time summer resident, mostly on Orr's Island. I took a look at the survey today, and it looks wonderful. I look forward to it being completed. The one comment I did have to Mary Ann was I would like to see treatment added under yes, and I agree there are many treatment systems, but my concern is that there is an overabundance of water softeners, and water softeners use 10% approximately of your water use and then spit out brine water into the ground or into your septic system, and may not contribute as much as saltwater intrusion, but certainly contribute to the degradation of the groundwater quality. And there are water softeners all over the place in Harpswell. I personally use 3 20-inch filters, one for sediment, one for iron manganese, and one for a carbon polish. And, I replace them once a year based on my water use. But I'm concerned that as our water resources become more stretched thin, that, that's going to matter. And I have one other example I'd like to share. I've been studying 3 wells on Orr's Island, including one 175 feet away from the Merritt House well that went salty in 2017. And unfortunately, we're creeping salty. I'm watching the water use. I'm watching the water level in the well. And over the winter, it increased 50 parts per million from 150 to 200. And we didn't use the well for 6 months. So it was not our water use. the state records in south part of Wars Island are horrendous, and that is mostly because of the age of the wells down there is older than the bill which required wells to be reported to the state in '88. I find 6 wells online on their GIS system. There are far more properties on tax map 27 than that, and I see Merritt House as kind of the canary in the coal mine. We have salt sensitive areas. That '83 study was great. I would like to access some of the records from that if they're available. I know the online report only has the report, because obviously survey data is kind of personally sensitive per property, but it's time that this information comes into the digital age. That's all.
There is an old saying about the south end of Wars Island, that if the septic system's dried up, so wouldn't the wells.
That's pretty accurate. I would say that the majority of the surveys I've done for towns have asked, a couple basic questions about the type of treatment. It is true that there is no mechanism right now other than air and water quality in Culligan, to track what types of systems are installed where. So I'd say, that's up to the board and Margaret, I think it's a good recommendation to include a couple categories of treatment, maybe not all the ones under the sun. Right. And
what about leaving it blank and allowing the person to fill in what, if it's yes, right, what type of, is that?
That could be done, but that then requires a manual step by us to translate that. So, right. And one thing we do say right in the beginning of the survey is fill in whatever information you want to. So people could skip over it if they don't want to fill it out. I don't know why describing what type of treatment would be a concern, but I think it's a good recommendation to include it. I don't know why it was, I don't know. I think we could put in some simple categories of water softener, chlorination is the other one, or UV, so bacterial treatment. And then the third one would be typically like reverse osmosis and carbon. Those are kind of the 3 categories.
Yeah,
so.
I think if you did that, that would narrow it down quite a lot.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I like the idea of that too.
There's more and more ROs going in than ever.
Yeah.
We put a few in the last few years.
Yeah. It's a pretty big business now, and then there's the PFAS world, so that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And I'd also I meant to address one of his concerns. Is it Lee?
Yes.
The state is creating a saltwater monitoring, groundwater saltwater monitoring network, saltwater intrusion monitoring network, and there are a number of instruments that they've installed in various coastal towns. And depending on how the funding goes for this, we may have some additional funds left in the grant, and we could, what a number of towns are doing are installing the instrumentation with the grant monies, and then the Maine Geological Survey is sort of, Jessica Meeks, who I think has been out here, is sort of taking over the whole network. And so we're just helping to support the installation of the instrumentation. And I would recommend, if we do have some money left over, that you consider that, because there's a number of places in Harpswell that might benefit from. In that monitors basically the water level, over time, but also the conductivity, which would be an indicator of salt. So.
Right. Yep.
So that's an option.
I had been actively with Mary Ann trying to find some. The state wants wells that are not actively pumped, and most people use their wells for water, so it's a little more difficult to find those wells. I think we located a couple, but never kind of circled back with the state. But I agree. I have my own 2 transducers in 2 wells, one on my house on Blueberry Lane and one in the well down on Osborne. And I've been monitoring the water for the last year and a half, both during use and last winter during non-use. And I could clearly see pumping influence in the well down there from other wells in the village area there.
Yeah, and so the state system too has telemetry, so it basically, and they haven't really got the dashboard set up, but it's basically going to send that information, to a satellite, which will then be transmitted back, to the land. And so it will be like if you've looked at the National Weather Service or anything like that, it'll be a map of the state of Maine showing in real time what the values are. And it would have been really handy to have had that information during the drought we had last summer. So I'm happy to answer any more questions, but don't want to take up more time.
Marianne?
Oh, yep, right behind you.
I'd be surprised if Mary Ann didn't get up and speak on this.
No, everybody was doing such a, Mary Ann, Dave. Everybody was doing such a great job. I didn't see the need. But what Lee brought out to me today, I think when the committee decided it would be better to be more vague than be specific, I think they didn't realize, I think if we do a better job of saying why we want it, I mean, some of the information I learned today that Lee brought out, I thought was very fascinating to be able to put that on the form so people can, you're asking this question. These are some reasons why we would like it. I think we should revisit it, and we have the opportunity to get more information. It would be good.
I agree.
You.
Yep.
All right.
Mary Ann, would you like them to authorize this survey with those changes that you suggested?
I'm sorry.
Would you like the board to authorize moving forward with this survey,
With those changes.
including the changes that
I
you
think that would
suggested?
be a good
Okay.
idea, and we wouldn't have to come back and
Right.
ask again.
I move that we authorize moving forward with those changes.
I second.
Any more discussion? None? All in favor?
Yep.
All right, continuation of the discussion regarding benches on town properties.
Katie Neal, Parks and Rec, back again. This is continuation of a discussion about benches on town properties. This is our third meeting talking about my overall objective to evaluate the various town properties and public access points to increase access for all folks in this town in lots of different ways. So that involves doing trail analysis so we can better describe our trails to help inform folks who are choosing to go out and recreate. It includes thinking about the ways in which we go down to the water. So when we're constructing paths down to the beach, what does that look like, and how do we make sure we're protecting the shoreline while also making it as accessible as possible, and considering strategic places where we might want to include a bench to provide opportunities for folks to rest. And lots of different bodies need to rest when on a walk. So that is why we have been talking about it in the past 2 times. I understand that this topic has sparked some interest and that there are folks who would like to share their opinions on benches, and so I will let them do so.
Yep, I think we're talking about giant stairs at this point.
We are.
Just a guess. But I'll start. Frankly, best way I can put this isn't a hill I want to die on, frankly. I discussed it earlier with Katie a little bit. One of the compromises I thought of, we're about to do the end of Ocean Street, to rebuild it, reclaim it, and if there's going to be a bench anywhere, maybe down the end of Ocean Street, off to the right, just as the trail starts. I thought it might be a good, if people walking down to get on the trail, they got to walk down the road, they can stop there and rest, walk up, see the stairs, walk back, sit on the bench again. It just seemed like a compromise that might work.
I have to say that I'm getting to the point where I like to sit and rest once in a while. Most of our town properties are things that we purchased. There's 200 acres here, we purchased this, it's woods, it's, not very many people around. Mitchell Field used to be a military base. Now it's a park. A lot of people walk there. The thing about the giant stairs is Captain Sinnott was quite specific in the deed. He didn't want any buildings or any nuisance. And a nuisance is described as a person, thing, or circumstance causing inconvenience or annoyance. And we've heard from a number of people who live down there that it's right in their backyard, unlike any of the other town properties that we have. And I think the feeling is that a bench there on the trail would be a gathering place for people at 2 o'clock in the morning or whenever. And there are rocks there. We've moved some stones there for people to sit on. And you can always, there are like canes that are built-in seats that people can walk and bring their seat with them if they're, if they need to rest. But I think that leaving the trail itself in a somewhat wild state is probably, in the wishes of Captain Sinnott and everyone around there. And a lot of the people that walk the trail, they like to have it as natural and normal as possible.
I mean, I don't know that
Hang
I
on,
would
hang
say
on, hang
a
on,
lot
hang-
of people that walk the trail.
I get my chance here. For
Yes,
my
sorry,
opinion.
Matt.
Now I differ, both of them. I think the town has spent a lot of money to build an ADA compliant trail with an ADA compliant parking spot. And it makes sense to me to put a bench at the end of the ADA section of the trail for those types of people that need a chance to rest before they return to their vehicle. I certainly understand the concerns of the abutters. I myself used to abut a town property at one time and dealt with similar situations that were described to me via email and through different public comment. That being said, I have also hiked hundreds, if not thousands, of miles of trails throughout this country and this state, and I see these types of benches that are being proposed on a lot of trails. They're a simple wooden bench made of a tree cut in half. I don't think it takes away from the nature of the trail at all. I would agree if this was a bench like had been proposed in years past, a memorial type of granite bench, something like that. But a natural bench for people to rest in the town with the oldest population in the state of Maine. Mobility issues are going to become an issue for probably all of us at one point. I'm the youngest person on this board, and I enjoy a chance to sit down every now and then. And we're not adding parking spots, so I don't see how it can add to more congestion than there already is. If it's full, it's full. That's where I stand.
We do have large stones that we've put in place for people to sit on there, so.
But you have to climb down over stones to get to said stones.
No, they're up on the trail.
I expected you folks to come up and say something, and I was going to give you an opportunity to speak before I said what I had to say. Are any of you hoping to come up and say something? Wonderful.
I'm Eric Winter. Our house is perched right on the rocks. I do think that the bench is not a good idea, but there are a few things I'd like to say. I see a lot of people walking right in front of my porch, and they are overwhelmingly respectful of me and of the property. There are exceptions. Calm down. There are people, but they're so few and so rare. People cherish this site, and I think it's great. I also think that context matters when you go anywhere. That is, if you're in a public park, you behave differently than when you're on a trail. And I say that because anytime you add amenities, it starts feeling like a public park. And it is public. I'm not questioning that. This is open to the public. But Mitchell Field with pavement and mowed lawns is a different place. So, and I'm not suggesting that putting in a bench is going to overwhelm the place with beer cans, but the more you have things like benches, the more you're going to have trash. Matt, I saw your note about mobility issues, and I think Kevin has a great idea, like, no problem, personally, with a bench at the start of the trail. You know, there's been discussion in the past about making that area mobility accessible. And I think you have to realize that if you do that, you can't do that without destroying it. You know, if you're going to put in pavement or make it smooth, it's not going to be the same place. So if you put in benches, I'm not sure where the ADA compliant area ends. Can you tell me?
I'd have to show you. It's kind of where the gravel ends.
Okay. Well, my concern is that with what you suggested, that people with mobility issues can't get to where the bench would be. Or at least they'll have difficulty. And the people who will use that bench will be other people. And as has been suggested, that people hanging around puts the area at risk. Finally, I think David said that probably the largest collection of flat rocks in Cumberland County is the Giant Stairs Trail. And if you walk out there, you'll see people sit all over the place now. Some of it is right by the trail. You know, I walked by there the other night, and there were 12 people sitting 20 feet off the trail on the rocks. There was some kind of class going on. There are places to sit for most people. People with mobility issues will have trouble getting to them. I understand that, but that's what I have to say.
Can I just ask a quick question while you're up there? Can you, if the rocks are there and people are sitting on them now, I guess, how does a bench differ then? You know what I mean? Like, a bench is easier for somebody with mobility issues, I would be willing to say, than get on than a rock. You know, and if people are already sitting on the rocks, adding a simple two-person bench, you know, at most, I mean, it's not going to be some big monstrosity. Is that different than adding a rock?
Well, you're asking me an ergonomic question, but I think people are more likely to hang around where there's a bench. People are more likely to leave beer cans and trash where there's a bench. Those are my concerns. I'm not saying it's going to be buried in beer cans the next day, but the fact is that the people in the neighborhood are the ones that pick up that area. And I'm not suggesting the town should change that. And that's not a big problem, and I think those of us who live there are willing to deal with that. But that's my concern. Thanks.
I like Kevin's compromise, frankly. Having a bench in the area, but not out on the trail, for people to sit, look at the ocean, rest.
Evening, folks. My name is Bill Bly. I'm at 9 Hems Way. Sally Murphy is my friend and my neighbor. We lived here for 3.5 years. I'm actually a Scarborough resident. I was planning on being here on Zoom, except we lost power, and then, of course, and the generator went, and 2 minutes before I arrived, my wife called me and said, "Hey, power's back." I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to go in person." So it's nice to meet everyone. You have a tough job. The fights in Scarborough are generally about who doesn't want to pay for school. And my son has graduated, and I always wonder, why would you want to fight about that? That's going to increase your property values. But that's where we reside. We bought here in Harpswell, and we had an opportunity to buy this house on Hems Way. And we love living here. One of the things that, believe it or not, attracted me to that house is we can watch people walk by all day long. For me, it's very entertaining. I enjoy seeing that. And we're here every weekend, even in the winter, good weather, bad weather. We really enjoy being here. And I walk that trail with my dog regularly. I see a lot of nice people. And as the gentleman indicated earlier, people do leave trash behind. People set off bottle rockets randomly because they feel like they're entitled to do it. People show up at 4 o'clock in the morning before the sun rises, raising cane. 30-something years ago, that might have been me. But now I'm a little bit older, and I don't like people having to necessarily raise cane at 4 o'clock in the morning. And the problem with the bench is that's something we're putting there. It wasn't there in the first place. It's not a natural feature that was just dropped there by God when this area was created. So yes, people congregate on the rocks. That's great. The reality is, and I'm getting older and I'm thinking I'm in trouble because I'm 55 and I'm already thinking what kind of mobility issues I have. My knees bothering me today. And
That's not old, you just wait.
Oh, yeah.
I just say getting old is not for sissies. I'll just leave it at that. But unfortunately, we can't make everything accessible to everyone for every purpose. There are just some things in life that it can't happen. And I'm sorry that some people could feel excluded. I understand that there's a real good sense behind it, which is, don't we want people, theoretically, who might have a mobility issue, be able to access that? But think about how far they can get up. They actually can't get past that area. That's the ADA accessible area that you indicated, sir, because it's a swamp when it rains. You can't walk that rest of that area. So we don't have a fully ADA accessible trail. And for that, I'm glad, because it does cut down on the traffic, and it does leave the area looking natural. It's part of the beauty of it. And my concern is, and I'm a criminal defense attorney by trade, so here I am talking about crime, but I see it a lot. You put a place for people to congregate, that's where they're going to loiter at. And some of these problems will become more magnified. There's that issue. There's also an issue of a slippery slope. If we make this accommodation, what's the next accommodation? Well, geez, I got to use the bathroom. There's no bathrooms around. There's no public bathrooms. Should we be thinking in terms of having some type of a porta potty? What about paving it and making it wider? I mean, at what point do we say enough is enough, or there is no enough? And I find it interesting because I watch people. That Parks and Recreation is very passionate about this issue and seems to be very invested in it. I'm invested too as a property owner, and I've read that deed. Let me tell you, Orlando DeLogue, I don't know how he let me skate through property class, but I passed that class with the skin of my teeth, but I can still read a deed. I think we've all read it. And there was a concern by the gentleman who gifted that land to the town of Harpswell about creating a nuisance. And I think we run the risk of creating a nuisance, and the people that will suffer from that nuisance are the property abutters. So I'm asking you to reconsider that. I think it's a nice compromise down at the end of Ocean Ave. I think that's a good discussion. It hadn't been proposed before. But having a bench, regardless of how natural it looks, up by Sally's property, in front of my property, and having people congregate there on a regular basis, and perhaps the people who actually might need it, that 1 in 100 that comes by, probably won't even be able to use it if other people are already sitting on it. So I wonder really, what is the use here? It sounds like a nice idea in practice. I think it potentially leads to more future problems for us. Thank you for giving us this time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Defense rest, right?
On that note, were you guys able to forward the other members? I had a friend who was a title attorney.
I did not.
And I forwarded the deed to my friend that's a title attorney to have them review it. It's not legally binding. It was a favor. But she reviewed the deed and said that it does not preclude the town from building a bench on the property. And I think that should maybe be the direction that we go, is seek legal advice from MMA first to see if we can even build a bench or install a bench, something like that, because if MMA says we can't, then this whole discussion is pointless.
Well, I'm already at the point where I don't want to bench up there anyway, so I'm past that.
Me too. This doesn't have anything to do with MMA. It has to do with the neighbors. It has to do with Captain Sinnott. It has to do with a lot of things that aren't necessarily legal. It's, we need to be respectful of our neighbors. And
we have to look out for the greater good of the townspeople, in my opinion.
Well, I would go along with Kevin's compromise on that part.
Does that?
Let's hear from our recreation director.
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
Thank you for taking the time to at least have a conversation about this. I appreciate everyone sharing their perspective and can understand where the abutters are coming from, not wanting to increase disruptive behavior in their backyard. I don't think anybody wants that. I certainly am not looking to pave the trail or to install a bunch of infrastructure. I'm not talking about making the trail ADA accessible. When I'm thinking about improving the accessibility of trails, there's a spectrum of what that means. I'm not, I want to keep spaces natural for the greater good. And when I'm talking also about folks with mobility issues, I'm not just talking about the elderly. We should all be so lucky that we are able to move freely in this world, and that those who are close to us can as well. Currently have a friend who has a 6-year-old child who has no use of one leg and is going to be facing extremely long uphill battle in his recovery to regain mobility. So the ability for her to get out of her house with her child and walk slowly on a trail like the giant stairs is not only therapeutic and restorative for the child, but also for the mother who is caring for them. So I am aware that you all have already made your decision and that you're a no. But I just want to plant the seed that I'm not just talking about mobility issues for the elderly. I'm talking about folks who can't move their body in the same way, folks with vision issues, children who have mobility challenges, and those who don't already have a place to sit. So I'm talking about a non-permanent natural bench placed in the least intrusive spot possible. I don't care if it's at the end of whose property. I'm talking about a bench somewhere on this trail that's on town property. I'm not pointing to a trail map saying it has to be here. I'm absolutely flexible. I'm about improving access to our outdoor spaces. And thank you so much for hearing me for the 3rd week in a row.
Katie, I have to tell you, I agree with everything you say on every trail but this one. And I was involved with widening and putting crushed stone down on the part of the trail that's somewhat ADA right now. And that's probably as far as I'd like to go with that trail.
I hear you. We have plenty of Rudy trails in Harpswell. I cannot fix them all, and not all trails are going to be for all people. And as you know, we already treat this trail differently. I don't advertise it in my outdoors guide. I'm not promoting it. I'm not running programs there. We already give this property special treatment.
Well, this trail's different. I grew up on Bailey Island. Family's been there longer than most. There's a lot more traffic on that than there ever was when I was growing up. You might be 4 or 5 people a day back then. It just, and even though we stopped advertising about 8 years ago, I think it helped, I think. And then we found a little extra parking. There were parking problems, and Terry found some land that we actually own partway down there. So we try to be as fair as possible. And, we want people to enjoy it, but on the other hand, it's the most natural trail we have in the town of Harpswell, other than clearing brush. It's there. As an island boy,
I think we all agree that Harpswell is getting increased love, and all of our trails are seeing more love and attention than they ever had. Who knew that Lookout Point was the hottest swim spot? I think we all can agree that Dave Hackett is shocked with the amount of folks that go down there and go swimming. So I am not surprised that the Giant Stairs is getting more attention than it used to.
And that's without advertising. I think just word of mouth.
And the internet.
The good old internet.
How would you know?
And to be clear, I do ask bloggers to remove certain spots from their websites that are advertising places we don't want them to advertise. So,
I have a steam-powered computer at home.
The original.
No.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Yes.
There's a lot of talk about the deed, and I'm not advocating for one side or the other, but I really find it important to state that, because everybody says Mr. Sinnott and the abutters, there's clearly a section that says, improve said strip of land for the best interest of the public and the abutters. Again, I'm not advocating, but it is about the public in addition to the abutters. And I do want to thank the gentleman whose name I've already forgotten for saying how much he appreciates. First of all, he bought his land knowing that it's abutting a town property, as I believe most would have. And so I think that that comes with the responsibility of the person buying it. I would be really surprised to hear with your criminal background that you would not have bought it if it had a bench on the property.
Oh, he had a criminal defense background.
Oh, I'm sorry, not criminal. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about that.
I can tell you a concern if you want, and here's a concern as a.
Probably should go to the podium.
Would you go to the podium so everybody can hear you at home?
Here's one of the things that concerns me. One of the things that people don't actually respect. That's our private way. Imagine people coming up on a regular basis. We've had people come down in their cars and park down there and then say, oh, I didn't realize it was private. I had to basically weld on a private sign there, and people still ignore it. Here's why it concerns me as a criminal defense attorney. People with drug problems case houses. How do I know? I've been defending people like this for 21 years. It's my job. I enjoy doing it. I don't necessarily want those same former clients or future clients casing my house. For what? A drug problem. It was one of the concerns I voiced to my wife when we bought that here is the public traffic. And it is a concern that I have that if people are coming up and down and they're loitering, it gives them an opportunity to case properties. And my dad had a saying, and I really believe this is true, locks keep honest people honest. But when you've got a drug problem, and you've got a mindset you've got to fuel that drug problem, and you find out with you and your friends that this is a great place to congregate, and you start looking around and finding out who's there during the day and who's not, that's how home invasions happen. Now, that is a legitimate concern I have as a criminal defense attorney, seeing what I've seen from the inside of the system. So I do want to express, we bought that knowing that. Would a bench have been, made a difference? At that point, it would have had been a decision point, but it was already there. But right now, we're dealing with trying to bring a bench in. And yes, it's for the public use, but also we have to take into consideration the abutters. The public and the abutters, there needs to be some type of a balance. And we've got a lot of public recreating areas around that the public has access to, including this one, that can sustain improvements like that. But this is a natural trail, as it was indicated earlier. It's already been improved to a degree. I don't think it needs a further improvement.
Just because I love to play the devil's advocate.
Sure.
Couldn't,
I love that.
Yeah,
Love it.
I'm sure you do, coming from a lawyer standpoint. Couldn't it possibly help by having a bench there and having maybe somebody sitting there that's responsible and says, hey, look, I've seen this car drive by 3 or 4 times. It looks like he might be casing this guy's house. Because the vast majority of people in the town don't have a drug problem and are good people, and aren't casing your house.
Usually it's the folks from outside, but there have been some elements.
Yeah.
We
But
know who those folks
couldn't
have
it
been.
possibly be helpful to have?
No, I don't think we're going to have I don't think we're going to have a public servant out there sitting on that bench keeping, guarding the houses from dangerous folks. I think we're going to have a lot of people sitting there that are nice folks that are probably going to monopolize that bench. And if that 1 or 2 people come on the occasion that actually could use it, you're going to find that that bench is probably not available. I think it will get used. The problem is it becomes more of a place to kind of camp out at.
But not all the, I don't know, I have a different view.
I'm a little bit more cynical.
I would say.
And by the way, I'm ex-military, so when you talk about all those thousands of miles you marched or you did, hiking, we call that road marching. If I had to do it in the military, I don't do it anymore.
Ditto, by the way.
U.S. Army, 94 to 97, sir. Thank you.
U.S. Army. State your name.
Nor Hall, and I live on the road where that has been totally transformed by extra parking spaces, so that we have a lot of trespassing and toilet paper and those things that we deal with on that road all the time. But one of the things that hasn't been mentioned is the noise of people who stop to use their cell phones on that road because of its height. So all day long, I not only hear sounds of car doors slamming and people, but people stop and yell into their phones right on the path, right in front of our house. And a bench, I think, would become like a phone booth. And people are going to sit there and they're going to make phone calls that you may think it sounds silly, but it is loud. And voices like that really carry, and it's just another level of nuisance I wanted to mention. Thank you.
So the other part of the paragraph that Terry was reading, it says, "And it is provided that no nuisance, a building shall or building shall be erected on said strip of land, and any use or occupancy thereof which shall in any way, manner, damage, or discommode the rights of the public or the rights of the benefits of the abutting owners thereon forever provided," it's such small print, "that that said inhabitants of the town herein shall enjoy and improve." But anyway, the whole point is the whole point is this was in 1910. It was a different world, and he wanted to keep it natural, and he wanted to make it so that people could enjoy it in a natural state. And the fact that these guys have lived there, see what goes on, and are concerned that a bench will become a gathering spot and, as you say, a phone booth. And I stick with, I like Kevin's proposal.
I stick by mine, but I'm the lone wolf here. So
That's fine.
I mean, if you want to compromise and go at the end of Ocean Street, I'll take something over nothing. But I would prefer.
When the project's completed, do a survey, there's a bike rack in there somewhere.
Yep. Parks and Rec.
State your name.
Just to offer, we do have a bike rack there and a dog pot station. So there is infrastructure that has already been installed. So I don't know if that brings nefarious behavior as well.
Wait, those things are they're at the end of the trail, right? They're beginning of the trail.
No, they're not.
They're not at the very.
Install the bike rack.
They're
It's
not
quite a
at the
ways
beginning
in.
of the trail.
Where is it?
Nor am I proposing a bench in a specific spot, but you have to walk, 15 feet, 20 feet in,
Yeah, well, that's.
I would say perhaps get rid of the bike rack. In 3.5 years, never seen a bike rack.
Yeah,
I've also never seen anyone casing that space as someone who's raising 3 children in this town and I'm not concerned about drug
I
issues.
trade a bike rack for a bench.
I've seen bikes there.
not to argue the point, but there was a drug house nearby until recently, not very far away. Yeah. Fortunately, it's gone.
Anyway.
But anyway, we're getting off point. Okay.
The mountain is building.
What's that?
The mountain that you're going to die on.
Yeah, I know.
So where are we? No bench on we're
Yeah.
going to wait and when we get the development done on the end of the road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this something we vote on, or is this just, no to the bench, 2-1? And then when Ocean Street's done, we look at it, get some thoughts, and
You'll revisit it at that time?
yes.
Yeah.
I'll be brief. I just want to ask you to do what you can to keep us posted when things come up, because we hear about them somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you seem to know what's
Show up
going on.
every other Thursday.
Yeah, sorry.
Show up every other Thursday.
Yeah.
You can certainly sign up for the subscription and get the agendas. And someone in this room is on the Town Lands Committee, and I believe probably keeps you all updated.
Yep.
But you can sign up for agendas.
And whenever we get the permits and things ready to go at Ocean Street, you'll see what's going on there, so. All right, we good?
I guess so.
Consider sole sourcing for a new dry hydrant.
So as the board recalls from 2 meetings ago, the board accepted a dry hydrant easement from Henry, and I don't want to do his LaRue, for a new dry hydrant easement on Bethel Point Road. And R.A. Weber has provided a price for doing that work. R.A. Weber is the company that has installed our dry hydrants and maintains them. here before you this evening to approve and authorize the contracting with R.A. Weber for $17,700. And if the board so approves, that involves a $1,200 deposit when signing the contract.
So the sole sourcing, is this going to be a reflecting pool when we're done, or no?
Oof.
Anyway,
We've already had enough contention.
I move that we do that with the 1,200. What would you say it was, 1,200?
Mhm.
Yeah, with that included.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Cumberland County Communications Contract.
So this, the board may recall last year, you only signed a one-year contract. We brought to this past year town meeting for a multi-year contract. It's typically 3 years. There's a couple of changes to this contract. They've started charging for, the increase has gone up from 3% to 6%, reflecting the costs involved with the Regional Communication Center. And also, they have a software charge, additional charge of $2,000, which will be part of the contract but separate from the regional communications charge. That's directly for our 3 fire departments in the town being able to use the CAD software. Last.
Is it 6% or 5%? In the contract, it says a 3 to 5% increase.
For the following years.
Oh, okay, all right, thanks. All right.
And then the last point was that the municipality agrees to maintain P25 VHF capability for the fire and rescue and law. Well, our law, we contract with Cumberland County, and this is Cumberland County Regional, so they definitely are P25 VHF. And then we did check with Chief Wallace today, and when all the radios were upgraded through a discounted price through the county, we are equipped with P25 as well. So this contract, if approved by the board, would be for 2 years. Instead of in the past, it's been 3 years, but they're trying to get everybody who's participating in that on the same schedule. So it will be 2 years with a 3-year renewal, automatic renewal, if you so approve.
Yeah, I so move.
I so second.
No discussion, all in favor? All righty. Select boards, goals and objectives.
I can give a bit of context here. Back in April, the board held a workshop and talked about its goals and objectives for the coming year. You looked at some of your previous or most recent goals and objectives, which actually was about 2 years ago. I think this board, we did not get to that point last year. So this current draft follows the kind of format that you used previously, and I think it was former Select Board member Jane Covey who kind of developed this format. I attempted to take notes at your workshop and to use highlighted language to indicate what was new, and I may have missed some things, or there may have been some things that didn't come up at the workshop that you now want to add to this list. We did get some comments, a public comment about, maybe you need to think about adding something related to the HCBC Memorandum of Understanding. We did sign a 5-year agreement in 2022. That's coming up for renewal or for consideration, I should say, in 2027. Over time, the town has taken on more responsibility for communications. We have a communications staffer now. And so I think it would be important to maybe include that if that's going to be something you want to focus on. And I do think it's important to have one member of the board who's willing to work with town staff on updating that agreement or meeting with HCBC and talking about some
Would
of these
that
changes.
new agreement be signed on January 1st of 2027?
No, it would not.
Or?
I can't recall the current date when I want to say maybe August, but.
It is August.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right
you would
around
have
mid-year,
to-
so.
If it's going to be multi-year, the town meeting would have to give its approval. And
So it would be helpful to start working on it here
Yes.
probably this fall.
yes, it would. I think especially before budget season, because
Yep.
this seems to come up as a perennial question.
I think
about,
it should be added to
how much the town
goals
is
to get it
supporting that
squared away.
organization. So think about whether you want to add that specifically to this list, and then if one of you wants to serve as the liaison, working with staff on updating that agreement.
I'll serve as the liaison.
Yeah, it probably shouldn't be me, right?
No,
Yeah.
because
Probably
you're the
not.
president of the
I'll-
I
organization.
vote Matt.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think I'm gonna have to fight Kevin for it.
No,
so
you can have it.
Right, right.
Usually don't.
Yep. One thing I want to, on the first part, about the implementation of the new housing law, I'd like our town planner and the planning board to look into interior subdivision, 40,000 square foot lots as compared to the 80,000.
Yep.
And maybe changing, so if all the abutters sign off type of thing, you could change lot sizes type of thing.
I don't even know if you need, well, we'll let them figure out the fine details, but, when it was done, all you do is create sprawl,
Well-
with these 80,000 square foot house lots.
We do have the alternative lot plan, which is, uses
Yeah,
small lots.
But it doesn't fall on, it doesn't cover subdivisions.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It uses smaller lots and takes the additional and leaves it in an open space.
Well,
It's only ever been used once.
Well, no, it meant, somebody just tried to, they had a 40,000 square foot lot, but it wasn't approved as part of the subdivision. We just went through this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, right.
I know what you're,
That's different. That's an existing subdivision.
Anyway.
right, I'd be more interested in doing it with existing subdivisions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
some of the older subdivisions,
as long as we get all the abutters sign off on it type
Yep.
of thing.
But do you also want language that looks at this as potentially available? That new subdivisions might be 40,000 square foot lots or 60,000 versus 80?
Yeah.
Or you only want it if a butter sign off, I guess. that's just
I don't want it
understand.
with new ones going forward until at least we have that groundwater study.
Right.
So you want it in a specific case where a budding,
I'd just be nervous with doing it with new ones until we know where our groundwater assessment's at.
I don't know what it's gonna show you. I got a perfect example where I live. I have great water. I own the land on each side of me. I built houses on them. Crappy water on both sides. You've got, this groundwater study isn't gonna show us anything, frankly.
Yep.
We had it done 45 years ago.
Yeah, but technology has changed in that time too.
Well, what we get for water is what we have for water. One of the hydrologists told me Harpswell does not have a water problem. If you live near the ocean, yeah, you can have salt water, you can have I'm probably the only guy in the room that's got good water.
No, I'll fight you for that one. I got pretty darn
Oh,
good
do you?
water. I have no system.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
good mine is.
And where I grew up on Bailey Island, it's fantastic water.
Where I grew up was terrible.
So what we were talking about, I think Margaret knows, right?
yeah, but that's a very specific situation. I
Right.
didn't know if you wanted a
Well-
broader policy that
Well,
would
it-
apply to new subdivisions.
We're not spot developing, so spot zoning, that's not what we're talking about. I mean, to give the opportunity in an existing subdivision,
Interior.
in the interior, right?
Yeah.
For, if all of the other members of the development sign off, there was another criteria that we had.
Well, I don't even think we set the criteria here. You let town planner and the
I
planning
think
board.
Margaret,
Yep.
yeah.
I've already talked to her about it, and I
I have
talked to the
too.
chairman of the planning board. So,
But add
Yeah.
that under the community diversity wellness area where we have the housing piece about
Yes,
Yep.
implementing state law, okay.
Gary,
Gary Vincent again. Just a general comment on the goals and objectives. I had missed the April meeting, and Christie was kind enough to point me to it. I think just sitting here for the past hour or so, there's a bunch of things that came up that need to be integrated into what your vision and what your objectives are as a board. I think this is good work, but we talked about a survey that we're going to do online. We have no objective for staff to drive things online. that came out of a task force that we had 5 years ago that suggested that that would be a good thing to do to improve the effectiveness of town office and to bring technology to bear. I think if we spent more time looking at what the objectives are of the board and how we can flow them down to committees and to staff, we'd be a lot more effective in terms of having measurable objectives that have metrics for success. I think we have a structural problem that we have technology wishes, but we don't have the Energy and Technology Committee tasked. We have communication, but the communication folks are living within a task force from 5 years ago, not necessarily what you folks expect them to do in the next 2 years. So I think there's real opportunity to look at making changes to how we're setting the objectives and how in the future we might want to flow them down to staff and into committees.
Thanks. Anything else on this?
In what, the whole thing, or just?
The whole thing.
Well, under environment, in the light of what we've been talking about,
I think it's
pesticide, we really should have some sort of a pesticide regulation.
Well, we have that included, don't we?
Yes, but we need to push that. And also under economic, the right to fish, we have the proposed
ordinance language.
Local food and community self-governance ordinance. So I mean, we just need to push these things forward.
Yeah, I agree.
So who's going to push them?
The Conservation Commission is planning on taking up the pesticide issue in September. I spoke with Mary Ann about it actually earlier this week, and they're going to start drafting some language and some policy.
It's kind of rhetorical because we should be tasking.
Yeah.
I would think we'd be tasking committees and staff to meet your objectives.
And they are, and that's and the Fisheries Committee and the Harbor and Waterfront Committee is the committee that's working on the right to fish and the right to farm. So I guess it is what you're suggesting is kind of happening. It just kind of happens not as much in the public face, but it is happening.
And I think what's important is that we communicate that says we've got an objective. We've tasked this staff member or this committee to have a deliverable. What is the deliverable and when do we expect it to be delivered? And that should be something anyone in town can come in and say, I'm interested in communication. I'd like to know what technology are we deploying? Who has the lead to do that? Why has the website got a hazardous material day of May of last year? Those kinds of things that we're not driving to completion a lot of the objectives that we've had in prior years so that they become something that we can build on. And I think it's kind of like a blocking and tackling thing to see if it's not measurable and someone doesn't have a deliverable, that it's not an objective. It's a cure world hunger, or let's solve world peace. I think we've got to get a lot more mechanical in terms of how those linkages are.
In other words, I think these objectives and goals are what we've been talking about, and we're moving on them.
Yep, I want to hear more about the insecticide. I thought we had an agreement with these outside companies, what they could use, what they couldn't use.
I think we.
No neonics, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
We went through this.
I spoke with Mary Ann a little bit earlier this week about it, and I think and I'll be the first to say it, I hate regulation. I prefer education over regulation, but I think we're almost at a point where we need to issue licenses to make sure that these people are following the rules we have in place to allow them to be able to spread the pesticides.
We supposedly have a restrictive pesticide ordinance down in Harpswell,
but none of them know about it. The company I talked to, I had to email them the ordinance, they didn't even know it existed.
No. I think it's kind of a big deal.
I agree.
I know our ordinance is, it's with the Maine Pesticide Board, and it is the responsibility of those companies to check with the.
Here she comes.
The Maine Board.
I know, I knew I was trying to suck her out.
We
wait.
have our expert in the room.
Hook, line, and sinker, here she comes.
She was looking at me.
I know.
I was waiting. I just figured, anyhow, Mary Ann Nave. Yes, I talked with Matt, and we've been talking on the Conservation Commission as well. The town, the state has their ordinance and tells the applicators what they need to do. Evidently, there's a lot of new companies in town. They don't read the ordinance for Harpswell fully. They don't understand it. And I think perhaps what I talked to Matt is we want to look at this. We're going to be checking in other towns as well. We want to see how we might restructure it to be more digestible. So people, even you guys get to understand what it says, you know?
Hey, wait a minute.
Well, I know we had this
day.
conversation a good while. Point being, it's based, our ordinance is different than many other towns because it's based on the fisheries.
Yes.
It's based on
Well,
what.
it should be.
Exactly, we're that type of town, we have all this shoreline. So yes, we are focused on specific pesticides that harm the fisheries. And also pollinators, talking about neonics.
Yeah.
Many of the other towns focus more on how the product affects you and I.
Yeah.
Which isn't wrong, except that our focus is different. I think we need to work with some of the other towns, see what they're doing, and also relook at how we might restructure this. Maybe it's something that we might have new applicators come to the town office and at least come in and say they're going to work here, and we could give them an instruction sheet of what they need to look at. I don't know.
No.
We're going to spend a lot of time thinking about it and talking about it so that we can have something ready for
A
town meeting.
registration for these pesticides.
And it's really, I want to think every applicator wants to do the right thing.
Don't count on it.
But maybe they need to have a better understanding of the ordinance.
Yeah. Yep, agree.
So we will work towards that for next March.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Are we good with our objectives?
You happy, Christie?
These are your goals and objectives, so I want to make sure I understand what you want them to be.
Well, that's why the question. Do you
So
understand what we want them to be?
I think you discussed adding a piece about, looking at existing interior subdivisions, possibly reducing the size of those lots if all other members of the existing subdivision sign off. So you'd like that in.
There was at least another criteria too, and I'm trying to remember what it was that it was.
Well, yeah, I think those things can be
Yeah.
determined
Yeah.
by the planning
Yeah.
Well,
board.
falling in line with the state
Yep.
minimum lot size.
Yep.
And then I think you did want to add something under communications about this consideration of an MOU,
Yeah.
HCBC, and how that might be
Yep.
amended or modified. I don't know, it didn't come up, but maybe under our community wellness, we want to add a Clark Cove piece, because I know that is something we are working toward and plan to have something back to the board in the fall, but that didn't come up at your discussion, as I recall.
We can
so-
add that, because I've been hoping
Okay.
to work with you guys on that.
Okay.
I like getting stuff done, so I can get that done with you.
All right.
So with those changes, I think you can consider adopting the
Yep.
document.
Yep. I move that we adopt the document as amended.
I second it.
Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Thank you.
All right. I'm almost afraid. Public comment?
I just want to say thank you, to all of you who work for the town. It's a wonderful town. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
We love it.
One comment based on the earlier discussion where they were talking about the online survey for wells. There are still people in this town that do not have
computer access. Don't want it.
Believe it or not, yep.
We still need mailings and other forms, whether it's through the anchor or the TV station or whatever.
Yep.
We need to make sure that we get to all of the people.
All right. Other business? In that case, we're adjourned.
Right.